Hey guys, Claire here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. In the last video, we spoke about the Archewell Foundation launching the Parents Network and the incredible work that it does. In the past few days, I've seen different organizations here in the US and across the pond that have been supporting and collaborating with the Parents Network. Screen Sanity and the American Parents Coalition here in the US, as well as the NSPCC in the UK. Service is universal.
Why did Harry and Meghan accept the invitation to visit Colombia? Well, of course, it's a worthy cause. Like everything that they do with their foundation, it comes from a place of authenticity. So they're going to bring about more awareness to the mental health impact of cyberbullying as well as online exploitation. Over the weekend, and on Meghan's birthday, they debuted the Parents Network. Let's take a look at their website. This is part of the work of the Archewell Foundation. In answering the question, who are we? They're parents, it says, in our community that share a range of experiences. They highlight several families that were featured on Sunday morning. If you've actually watched this episode and not just read online comments about it, I'm curious as to your thoughts on what they shared and the work that they are doing. One of the things that stood out to me, along with the stories of the families that were showcased, is that when Jane Pauley asked Meghan about her own social media abuse, Meghan responded and said, "I've not yet scratched the surface." These past few years, I believe that Meghan has been protecting her babies and raising them. She has been taking care of the relationships that also take care of her, and also rebuilding her good name. She's an overcomer, and she is doing work that is actually impacting people's lives for the good. Harry too, of course, because true love wins.
Now you guys remember when Harry said this?
But he fears negative tabloid narratives endanger him and his family.
All it takes is one lone actor, one person who reads this stuff to act on what they have read. And whether it's a knife or acid, whatever it is, and these are things that are a genuine concern for me. It's one of the reasons why I won't bring my wife back to this country.
And since I've had this channel, we constantly talk about the instances where the things that Harry and Meghan have said from their lived experiences and how it comes to fruition. It proves the point that they have been making, and this time is no different. There was an article pointing out that UK politicians, or some, a certain subsection, and members of the UK press, and it's not just the tabloids, have consistently stoked the fires of anti-immigration, anti-people of color, these sentiments, these destructive, harmful sentiments, and how all of that can manifest itself. And this is what we've been seeing with all of these riots currently happening in the UK.
I don't know if Americans are getting told about this, but there are hundreds of riots going on in the UK at present. Hordes of EDL and National Party are burning down hotels that have got immigrants in, and they are going down the high street and putting windows through shops and just rioting and looting and just stealing stuff from shops on the high street, which I don't know what that's got to do with helping the country as they claim they want to do. They're burning down libraries. It is wild. If someone is driving past a group of these people in a car and they happen to be foreign, i.e. brown, they are chasing them down and pulling people out of cars and beating them up because they're foreigners, because they're brown. They could literally be born here, and their parents could have been born here, but they're going after them. If you're in America, you should just do a bit of a Google search about all of the riots and looting in the UK at the moment, because it's horrible. I have friends who are Indian and friends who are black, and it's worrying. It's so, I don't understand where all of these people have been hiding, because they've obviously just been here day to day, but I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure I don't know any of them as friends, but there's so many of them.
I'm not even joking you when I say we as POC Brits, okay? POC Brits minority Brits, black and brown Muslim Brits, we're going to need a heap load of therapy after this. I'm laughing. We're going to need so much therapy. What the fuck? What's happening? We're going to need a truckload of therapy. We're going to need so much therapy. So just stay safe at the moment. I feel like we are on autopilot. We are on survival mode. Just trying to get through day by day. But when the grief hits of what this means, of what this feeling is, yeah, we're gonna need so much therapy, babe. So much therapy. But like,
Meredith Constant, who is a content creator that generally focuses on media literacy. Now she touches on bits of Harry and Meghan's story, but it's not exclusively about Harry and Meghan. Nonetheless, she deconstructed and rightfully called out some inconsistencies and the problematic nature of that article that Camilla Tominey wrote for The Telegraph. So much so that Kamala herself, I believe, reached out to Meredith or sort of alluded to Meredith in one of her articles that she writes. What was it? The Royal Roundup or whatever it is.
There is a reason that this article is my Roman Empire and I will not let it go. And it's because stuff like this that happened today in the UK. Here's what caught my eye. Our right seizing and spreading a wave of disinformation. Claims that the attacker was an immigrant to mobilize the anti-immigrant protests. And it reminded me of this article, which was written by the same author of this piece just a couple of months later. The job of terrorizing marginalized group for profit is never done. Unlike the Meghan Markle cookbook mosque article, The Telegraph had to issue an apology for this one because the author failed to do basic due diligence. It's not just one journalist or one paper. You cannot just blame the far right here. I've done extensive research into this article, including contacting the author of the piece to find out what the original source was. I wrote about it. It was a 3-part series. Go check it out on my Substack. Ultimately, a lot of this anti-immigrant sentiment is because of the congealed spaghetti, which is the British government, HJS, Henry Jackson Society, which is a right-wing think tank, and then others like the Heritage Foundation in the United States. Heritage Foundation is connected with the Margaret Thatcher Institute. You'll see fellows from both going to different organizations, like that little troll on Twitter that keeps trying to get Harry deported. Anyway, extremist think tanks like the HJS provide the talking points and the data for articles like these, for outlets like these. Now, I want to be clear, this is not the only outlet or author. There are so many more. Don't give her that much credit. Do they want to get in the media? That they can influence the British government and policies around immigration and other things. And what's super egregious is that British journalists know. And if they don't know, they have zero excuse not to know the rise of extreme in the UK. One of the indicators of what influences these attacks are external factors like focus on anti-immigration policy. Why does the media continue to run with trumped up, a lot of times false, tenuous connections? Because they know in many cases that they have a readership that thrives off of fear of others. So they have decided instead of reporting actual news, they will focus on what their readership wants, whether it's true or not. That is disgusting. But as Chappell Roan once famously said, my kink is karma. Instead of actually looking at the way that their rhetoric encourages it, because they actually don't care. They don't give a shit. What you're probably going to see is a media that acts shocked by what's happened, will take no responsibility. And a great example of that, which I've also written about on my Substack, is after the death of Princess Diana. The media didn't change in any significant way, which is why the same stuff keeps happening. Instead of taking a deep look at themselves and looking at the unethical, truly terrible ways they hounded the Princess of Wales. Truly one of my favorite was that there needed to be reform on foreign paparazzis, and it's really foreign paparazzis to blame because they were the ones that were chasing Diana to get the picture. So that the British media could bid on it and then publish it. I know that because the Mirror did it just weeks prior, first picture of Diana and Dodi kissing on the yacht that went for, at the time, somewhere in the ballpark of 250,000 pounds, and this is in 1997. There cannot be change without public demand. There needs to be structural change here. Consequences, legally, are clearly not enough. I'm not name calling, but I will say, one who has written hysterically, unfairly, or lied in pieces to stoke hysteria and hysteria around immigration, and not investigating or giving equal time to the rise of extremism in the UK, because for some of y'all, it's kind of your readership. You have a responsibility here. People above you, the people that approve the articles, the people that are pushing for this kind of coverage, the people that are making the most money off of this, they also bear a brunt of the responsibility. Anyway, it's going to be very interesting to see the longer term pieces on this. I suspect a lot of finger pointing in any direction except for themselves. Something needs to change. Enough is enough.
I mean, I almost don't know how openly to speak here, because on the one hand, I want to be a journalist and I want to offer dispassionate analysis of what's going on. And on the other, I'm a person of colour living in this country, and I'm looking at these images and I'm asking myself the same questions that people of colour up and down the country are asking themselves, which is, how safe are we here? How strong are the bonds of belonging, the consensus around being a multiracial, multicultural society? Will they be strong enough to keep us safe in the long run? And for the first time, I'm saying, I don't know. I feel that things could get worse.
You can feel the emotion in her voice. I remember all these articles that we saw of royal experts saying that everywhere that Harry and Meghan stays or visits, with the exception of the UK, is unsafe. I've heard them talk about the US. The US is unsafe. Nigeria is unsafe. Colombia is unsafe. Jamaica is unsafe. Everywhere else was unsafe, according to royal experts. What have they got to say now? You have so many different countries, Nigeria included, warning their citizens not to travel to the UK. So when they come on these little chat shows or write their articles, they fail to mention the fact that the people who have been arrested for threats against the Sussexes are all from the UK. They're not from the US, not from Jamaica, not from Colombia, not from Nigeria. All from the UK. And I'm willing to bet that most, if not all of them, have sat around listening to these experts and commentators, reading the drivel that they write in the tabloids day in and day out for years, getting stoked up, just like the men and women that we've seen rioting. Because they're not protests, they're riots. Riots stoked by divisiveness. And I feel like that's something that has been prevalent in so many countries across the globe. And it's sad how huge an impact media narratives has on the world that we live in. Instead of coming together and working out our issues, the media creates divisive us versus them mentalities. And people take out their anger and disillusionment on their fellow citizens instead of the government figures and corporations and, some would argue, members of the monarchy, who are part of the 1%, who are ultimately the ones hoarding the wealth. It's a problem. So yeah, Harry and Meghan were right, and Harry is right. It is dangerous. It is dangerous because the media has created such a hostile environment. And as Meredith touched on, they never ever take accountability for the role that they play in all of this.
Well, some breaking news for you now, and in the midst of what's going on here, countries have been issuing warnings against travel here to the UK. Canada is the latest to do so. They say to exercise a high degree of caution, and they also joined a whole list of countries, of course, including Australia, India, Nigeria, and the United Arab Emirates.
So that is news to me. Malaysia now has a travel warning against going to the UK. And isn't that ironic? Us in the UK, we think we're the height of culture. We go, oh, the Foreign Office says you can't go there. Oh, is it dangerous there? Is Mexico safe? Is Thailand safe? Oh, no. And in reality, it's our country that is on travel warnings for loads of the world. As I said earlier, I am not surprised that the UK is currently on fire. I am not surprised that the people are rioting. And this could have been predicted by anyone with either a slither of foresight. It's scary times out there, guys. The world is changing. Hey.
There are some who have said, well, you would think that the king or the future king would put out some sort of statement condemning this behavior. But as I'm recording this, they've yet to do that. And this tweet on X seems particularly fitting for this situation, and it says, wait till the totally pissed off and frustrated peasants go after those royal benefits scrounging, sitting on their billions of tax-free money they do not share. And maybe that's why they're quiet, because they know that if they insert themselves into the conversations, perhaps some of these people who are taking out their frustrations on others will turn their eye towards them and probably start paying attention to the lack of inheritance taxes that are being paid, etc. Maybe that's why they're so quiet. Who knows? What do you guys think?
I think that having a monarchy as part of our constitution that's an unelected head of state figure completely undermines our democracy. I think democracy should be something that is, decided on, agreed by, and participated by as many people as possible. There should be a elected second house as well. So I think having a monarchy, it completely undermines our democracy. It widens inequality.
I've seen some of the videos. It is terrifying. I've even seen some people telling others, hey, if you are this particular religion or you're a person of color, please don't go to this area on this day because this is what's going to be happening. Terrifying stuff. So Harry was right. I remember when Harry and Meghan spoke about their experiences, William said they're very much not a racist family, even though they didn't do a damn thing to help Meghan or the racism directed towards Prince Archie up to this day. And we've seen certain subsets of the tabloids, GB News, etc., stoking these flames. They're saying Meghan and Harry were wrong. The UK is the least racist country. What's going on here now? Proving that they were right. And I've seen a lot of people on social media point that out. They're like, this woman experienced a lot of xenophobia, misogyny. But there was definitely racism. We saw it with our own eyes in real time. Female politicians saw it and called it out as well. So Harry was right once again. And for all my UK followers or listeners, please stay safe. Sending prayers for the safety of you and your loved ones.
Last time I will be talking about Robert Jobson's book. He wrote a book about Kate Middleton, aka the Princess of Wales. And do you know how crazy it is to be a side character when you're supposed to be the main character in your own story? Crazy work. However, like I said in last week's video, his book really just had a lot of the same stuff that other royal books had and things that were put out by the tabloids. Like, for example, Prince William reportedly had concerns about Meghan Markle wearing Princess Diana's jewelry. We already heard about this back in 2019, where it said how the Queen assured William Meghan is banned from wearing jewelry worn by Diana. No, that's not true because she has worn Princess Diana's jewelry. She's worn the jewelry that was personally owned by Princess Diana herself and not jewelry that, Diana wore that was owned by the crown. So for example, the aquamarine ring that Meghan has been seen wearing from, time to time over the years, that's part of Diana's personal collection. This is Kate Middleton wearing the Queen Mary's Lover's Knot tiara that Princess Diana was famously seen in. That wasn't personally owned by Diana, that was owned by the crown. It's Diana's gold Cartier Tank Francis watch that was personally owned by her. Hence, here we see Meghan now wearing it. The emerald choker, here we have Diana wearing it as a headband back in the day versus Kate wearing it as a choker. That is owned by the crown. This is Meghan wearing Diana's diamond tennis bracelet that was again personally owned by Diana and not by the crown. Same thing with these butterfly earrings as well. Like, to me, that William just has to stick his nose where it doesn't belong, because back in 2023 there were all these articles written about how William was so concerned because Meghan was spotted without her engagement ring. They kept saying she was spotted without her wedding ring, but it was her engagement ring that she wasn't wearing. Her to pop out with an updated version of her engagement ring as seen below, because the thing that he was concerned about is that 2 of the diamonds in her engagement ring, it was a part of Princess Diana's collection.
William really needs to get a hobby, or better yet, do some work. Go out there and do some work, some real engagements, like Auntie Anne. Too much free time on his hands to be sitting around obsessing over Harry and Meghan and Meghan's jewelry. That's weird.